What's up, everybody?
I forgot it's my stream to introduce. I pointed at Spencer like a jerk.
I was ready. At this point, I don't know what I do introduce and what I don't introduce, so I'm gonna sit back.
You're in the what is it, the like Tai Chi Aikido space. Like you're not even worried about it. You're just
It's all
immediately off and out. Those of you who are watching, who are fans of our content now and in the future, might not know that Spencer is and this is one of my favorite fun facts about you that I tell when you are not present, is not a black belt only because of a deeply political scandal that occurred at a local karate club. And I think about that shit. I think about it all the time. I didn't even know that could happen. It happens, and happens specifically to you.
Yeah.
Welcome to DM Writer's Room. This is our show where we demystify the DMing process. We know that we said we would start at 7:30, and we're pretty close, so be nice.
This is the closest we've ever been on time.
We've ever been on time for this show. And I assume we will continue to shave off slivers of lost time until eventually it is all perfect. Our goal for this show is very simple. A lot of times when you look up DMing advice, you get think pieces and bullet point articles that are all regurgitating like the same facts. And a lot of the time, I gotta be honest, I think that's just stuff that people make up after the fact. We wanted to really show what it is like to come up with these ideas to create settings and adventures and monsters and mysteries for games like D&D and Monster of the Week and Blades in the Dark. We've had a lot of fun doing it, and it's been good. You get to see the way that we throw out ideas and come up with new ones and all kinds of stuff. Today, to help Spencer with a one-shot that he will be running tomorrow, we are going to be coming up with as close to the perfect one-shot as we can manage. Now, I do want to say we rarely start with banter topics. We've done it a few times, and I'm bringing one today. I will remain anonymous on this product because I don't want to flame them. I found a really cool, and the boys do know about this ahead of time. I found a really cool adventure that somebody had published. I was really excited by it because the format is my favorite format, which is like half-size little zines that are maybe, between 30 on the high end, like 60 pages that have everything you need. They have really simple maps, simple art, digestible, easy to make, and to get out there. Easy in quotes. You can pick up a publishing house. The whole point of me liking those is that they're $10, $12, $15, enough that you're like, oh, we can play this for a few hours. $48 for like a 25-page adventure with some art in it. Listen, guys, I know the D&D books are 60. That's because Hasbro sucks. That's because Hasbro's the literal devil. Like, third edition books when you were significantly cheaper. Anything, granted it was a couple of years ago, blah blah blah, proportionally cheaper. And you're talking about something that is 1/5 the size of that book, printed on lower quality paper than these magazine books with their cardboard covers, and you're like a cool 48. So I want to go around the horn here. Number one, I want to know, first of all, like, what do you guys think? What's a good price for something like that to your mind? How do you balance kind of, the hours that somebody puts in it versus what you think people will pay? And what bizarro luxury product should TTRP guys start selling?
I have two answers for the first part of the question. I think that if it's art heavy and it looks cool, I think you can go up to $30 if the content within is very good, because then you've got a statement piece. It's something I could put behind me up here, like this Shadowrun box or this deck of tarot cards. That's something I could show off. So as like a cool art piece, $30. I think if you are art light and you kind of threw this thing together with your boys, you're looking at like 15 tops.
I was about to say,
that's a hard limit.
I was like, a fun 10 I would pay.
Yeah.
For if it's on printer paper, I'll pay $7 or $8 and I'll have a good time about it, because that's what's fun about it. Yeah. If I'm paying $1.15 a page, that thing better kick ass. And that's coming from somebody who's backed some ill-advised RPG zines.
And for the second question, the interesting thing that I would like to make, I would need to get into 3D modeling and 3D printing, both things I've never done, never touched. But you know how you're like using your desk space or like a random dining room table, and that's what you're using when you're playing D&D. So then you've got your laptop in front of you, you get your DM screen, you got all that. I want to build like a little twist on. I don't know the name of that. It like cinches down, you twist it. A clamp. I want to get a clamp, and then have a pull out thing that has a cup holder for your drink, and then it has a velveteen dice roller, and it
Nice.
would have like a little stack to hold your dice, and you could just throw all the stuff on there, or in like maybe initiative card slot, so it hangs off the table and doesn't take up the prime real estate that is a dining room table for D&D.
I love how much that's an answer to the like $12,000 gaming tables that people are selling
Exactly.
for no one.
And if our viewers watch this and they steal that idea, I'm going to be deeply hurt. I have actually been thinking about it for many months. I just have never 3D modeled anything before in my life.
Need to get you to a
So,
wood shop. See if you can't
yeah.
pre-gen, make some
Yeah.
mock-ups. Michael, what are you
All right.
thinking? What's the for our two little prompts here?
So, you guys know, the viewers probably don't know this about me. I love indie games. Like indie video games are some of my favorites.
You guys
like,
have once a week. Michael describes a game that is impossible to understand to us.
I love video games. I love AAA games. I love indie games and indie producers, all that kind of stuff. And so when you're talking about that, my mind went straight to like indie pricing, because I think a lot of the one shots and stuff are kind of like indie. And like so, if you're comparing it to an indie video game, a good way to think of it is like if you could buy a $5 indie game, it's probably not going to be great. They put a little work into it. It's not much. Say it's like a $10. It's like, all right, this is something. It's got some polish on it. It's a fun little one-day game. If you get like a $15 indie game or a $15 RPG, we're starting to get something like this. This is good. Like this will be like a month's journey where I can just keep on playing it. And then we get to like $25-$30. Like these guys should be AAA designers. This is like one of the best indie games ever. And so to bring it back to what you showed us it, and it looks really good. I don't know if it's the best, so I throw that in that $20-$25 category.
Yeah, 20 bucks plus shipping and handling any day of the week. $45.
It's crazy.
What are we
It is
doing?
crazy. It's not even a system. We're not going to name names here because that's not the business we're in. It's not a setting. It's not its own system. It's just like table setting stuff. It's just things you can utilize, which we are in the peddling business of. We do that. We create those things. We're not going out and charging $50 for those things.
And again, not to toot our own horns, I'm really baffled by this sometimes, especially in there's a lot of industries where people will will do this, and I can't help but kind of scratch my head a little bit. Our first adventure, shorter than this product was certainly, with like low art but a couple maps, right? I think we charged $3.
$3.
And that took us.
$3.
It's so funny. The time. What I think it is mainly is it's the time sink in people's heads. They're like, I spent months on this, and I'm like, yeah, man, we all spend months on this stuff. It's because we like to work on it. If we tried to pay ourselves for this very fun thing that we do by the hour, we'd be so truly, deeply, profoundly in the red.
Like 20 cents an hour.
Easily.
Not like 2 cents an hour.
Well, that's our budget for Bant time. I just wanted to get that. Oh, my luxury product, I was reminded by an old stream we did, would be one of those aromatherapy D&D things where it's like a spooky smell. What's up, Mike?
I was going to say, we have a chatter really quick that kind of segues us into topic for today. They asked, well, they said they're curious about criteria definition of our title, the perfect one shot.
It's
So-
evocative, is what it is. It gets the
Evocative.
people
No.
talking.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's criteria definition? What are we doing
So
exactly?
specifically in this case, we're doing a one shot that is introducing somebody to the game of Dungeons and Dragons, specifically 5th edition. A deeply funny thing to do a handful of days before 5.5 comes out, but we'll ignore that. So what we're trying to do is make a one shot that sets them up to understand how D&D works, and what the like key components of it are, without putting them in a situation, without boring them to tears, right? It also needs to be exciting and engaging, because D&D can be kind of a drag if you're trying to learn the rules while you play and your GM is kind of trying to figure things out. You can kind of end up really dragging on the energy and not getting a full picture of the game. So in my case, I think we want a low-level adventure that hits the 3 pillars of D&D,
Yep.
social,
3 pillars.
exploration, and combat. We want to get that full round view so that somebody can really take in the game and enjoy it and learn enough to go on and do something else. There's a lot of individual dungeons that are like this, but most of the time they wade into 2 of these things. There's a lot of one-shots that are exploration and combat, or that are social and combat. It's kind of hard to get the whole picture of it, while also giving your players a little bit of choice, making sure that, you know, all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed.
And yes, correct. It is an active game build that we are doing right now.
Yes, we are coming in. We didn't even come in with a theme, so we are
Wow.
absolutely
Yeah.
boned. Another thing we could try to do. So Spencer, you're playing this for somebody that you all, you're running this for somebody that you already know. Are there any genres, tropes, movies, characters that this person is like famously into? We don't want to make something derivative, but if we could have like a point to base off of, just something in the distance to grab onto, I tend to find that that is always the most helpful thing, is to have something that you're kind of getting towards.
So this person is big into Shakespeare, which is not going to be a surprise for those who know
Okay.
my background. So Shakespearean tragedy is always something that's good to lean into here. My thought is, to make it a perfect introductory one-shot, I think we need to lean into the medieval fantasy of it all. So I'm going to pitch, it takes place, the primary section of the adventure takes place in a long abandoned castle haunted by the old lord of said castle, manor, etc.
Nice, great. I was writing down just sort of like loose word association terms. So I have politics and poison like scribbled down
Yeah,
in front of
huge.
me, right? I feel like Shakespearean tragedy loves those 2 things. They love politics and they love poison. People are always getting poisoned left, right, and center. People drown a lot in a statistically novel amount, I would say. Are there any other words kicking around for the other 2 of you? Because even if we can just get like a couple of words on the bar. So we've got like haunted, poison, these
Betrayal.
betrayal. Okay.
And I was angling for nobility. That's a big one.
Yeah. The sort of somebody who is killed by their flaws.
Do high magic or low magic?
This is D&D. We're gonna stick with the typical D&D setting of
Okay.
pretty high magic.
I will say, and I think this is a really common misconception, and some people are gonna get, if you clip this, I'm gonna get torn to pieces. I maintain
I'm ready.
Dungeons and Dragons is a low to mid magic setting on its best day. Faerun, you're supposed to see a wizard in their tower who can cast 3rd level spells, and everyone is supposed to freak the fuck out about that. It is a side effect of writing adventures that everybody has like 5th level spells. It's just because you need a bunch of NPCs who don't die in 3 seconds. And so the lore says archmages are impossible masters of magic. There's maybe 1 in any given city, because otherwise they would vie for attention. And the games that are published for D&D, there is 6 archmages. They are all talking to each other about a problem. They are all too busy to help you. There's like 8 incredibly deadly dudes chasing you down. 3 of them are famous from history, but that's because we're playing in adventures, right? If you're thinking about the setting, is pretty no one's making magic items anymore. You have to go into a cavern and kill and fight gnolls and kill them to get a +1 dagger, and that +1 to attack and damage makes it Veskander, dagger of the Eastern Lord. Like, inevitably, I always think of we had a super long running joke. We played Lost Mines of Fandel for a while ago just for fun, and Spencer's character was this like 3-foot tall goblin who found the +1 longsword in that adventure. But that +1 longsword is a custom made blade found deep low in a cavern neath an abandoned mansion, and it says Talon across the side. Like, you know, you have to embrace the fact that any amount of magic is magical to the people who are living there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
you sort
I
of
think
drift into this
what
place
we
where
what we encounter here is a bit of a headbutt between the lore of Faerun and the realities of the game, which is everybody knows D&D is high fantasy, high magic. The people who make D&D insist that it is not high magic. They say, no, Talon is incredibly difficult to find in a legendary weapon with a +1. But everybody says, I have made 37 15th level wizards. I've met countless archmages. So it doesn't really line up.
Fair.
I think that we're sticking with the typical view of this, which is there are ghosts, there is magic. You're not going to run
Cool.
into the arch wizard giving you the mission, but, you know,
and
it's Faerun.
the beauty of DM Writer's Room, hey, you never have to give your players a sword that's just a plus. If you're going to give them a +1 sword, put something in there. Put some English on that ball. It does an extra 1d6 damage to anybody named Steve. Like, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
Just give it
They'll love that.
something.
The Steve slaying sword.
If you actually do that, that player, I guarantee you, is going to go into every session like, one of these dudes has got to be named Steve.
What number one, I'm just trying to make sure that we nail this down. So we want that classic fantasy feel. Already, I'm thinking of like, let's get a magic item in the mix. Another one that I'm thinking of is Foe Hammer from Lord of the Rings, right? It's this random sword they find in a cave. It's a little magical. What is it mainly? Goblins are terrified of it. And that's enough. Like, if you say the forces of chaos have learned to fear this blade, they have disadvantage on wisdom saves if they're within 30 feet of you. A player immediately is like, cool, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm giving this longsword to the wizard so that he can run into combat to get that wisdom bonus against their saves. Michael, what were you about to say?
I was going to say, Chef dropped a truth bomb. Elminster is a fluke in the world. Yes.
Yeah.
Elminster
Exactly.
is so far out of left field. Yeah, exactly. It's weird to run into so many of those people. All right, so we do need to get started. We've now spent we've vamped for a little too long
We're
here.
gapping.
Yes.
So we have our basic idea. We want nobility, we want specters of the past, and we want enough magic that it feels good to be interacting with it, but not so much that it kind of destroys the setting. So, Spencer, because you're going to be running this, I'm going to ask, I'm sure you've been noodling this at least a little bit. You seem to already have this this manor and this noble who died there. We can start there. I think that's a really great one. But we need a hook, right? We need to get Tom McCringleberry, the gnome detective, to the front door of this manor. Did you... Like, what is our way in? How do we sort of draw them here? Are they, is there rumors of the old master and the treasure that he left behind, and they are a gold seeker? Is it, the lord of the land, the Earl Bastion, has said, to whomever can find the cause of my friend's death, I will pay them a bounty of gold. And so they're there to speak to the ghost and investigate the manor to try to solve the mystery? What were you thinking?
First of all, Tom McCringleberry would already be on the case. He doesn't need it in, he would find it himself.
That's fair.
Beyond that, my first thought was this would be the heir to this keep. Has, his parents didn't get this, his grandparents didn't get it. It was his great-great-grandparents that lost it in whatever happened here, and they have since been shunted. He has returned with a pouch of gold to hire adventurers to clean out the keep so he can reclaim it for his line. That was my first take. but I'm totally open to changing that up. So if you guys have a different idea.
No, I like it. I
you're
like the
into.
idea of this like heir trying to come reclaim this place. It's a nice low-level adventure, and if you were, so my only real question here is, we want the end to be satisfying for somebody doing a one-shot. That would be a fantastic start to a campaign, because you would say, right, you've been hired by this guy, and once you've succeeded, you have this ally, you have a noble with a keep and things that they're doing. Like, you know, you have this person that you can return to and sort of reference. For a one-shot, I think that you can sort of end on that note with like a little pulp fantasy wink of like, maybe more adventures will come.
Yeah, next week.
Or your alternative would be offer to this person to be the heir to this manor. If you have that idea, why not let them tell you a little bit about, like, you know, yeah, I am the heir. We've, you know, giving them sort of that opportunity would put them a little bit more in charge, especially if you're trying to frame up the D&D reality where the GM is like, everybody write a backstory, everybody talk about why they know each other, here is a map, we are going to start playing, I have not written a plot, we're going to do your guys' stuff. Michael, I saw your hand up. What you got?
Yes. Two things. Chef, thank you for the follow. He says
Thank you, Chef.
he loves this kind of shit. He's enthralled.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yes, Chef.
We also love this kind of
Yes,
shit.
Chef.
Yes, Chef. Thank you, Chef. Second, if we, because it's kind of all contained in this, I like the air sort of stuff. Is there, like, what do you think of the idea of the party? This is like their great grandfather's castle handed down, and it is some sort of letter that they're reading now in the will of something.
Oh, I like that as the intro to it is one of them has received a letter giving them word of this being their inheritance. It's pretty interesting.
Another more action-packed read on the same thing. Certainly doesn't need to go this way. Are they starting at level 1 or are they starting at level 3?
Level 1. I do fear that level 3 is too much for a first-time player sitting down.
Totally. Yeah, I run a lot of one-shots at levels 3, 5, 7, and 14. If you want my stake on it, are my 4 favorites. 14 means most people have their capstone. 3 means everyone has their subclass. 5, everybody has their subclass and an ability score improvement. 7's just fun. I don't know why. I feel like at level 7, games really hit their stride.
You just feel real good about it.
You know,
I love level 5, but as a first-time player, it's a lot.
Yeah, so if they were starting at level 3, I was going to say, describe their previous adventure, and then say, and your reward was the deed to a keep, and you show up and it's haunted and shitty, which is the trick.
That's very fun.
I have played that trick on a few players in the past. I think it's always very funny. Okay, so it sounds like either they are sort of looking to the heir of this keep, and they will have a powerful ally, or maybe one of them is the heir. It doesn't actually change anything about what we're doing, and when they will be the powerful ally upon finishing up. So that's great. That's a good, solid hook. They have a person to talk to. They've been promised gold. They have a reason to show up, and we can sort of move on through. So they arrive at this keep. We need to try to hit these 3 pillars. We want the social element, the exploration element, and the combat element. Did you imagine that social element with the specter, with the ghosts of the manor? Because if so, we need to sort of turn up the number of specters, because we need friends, we need enemies, we need some like weird internal tension going on with those ghosts. Maybe they like blame each other for what happened, and it's kind of hard to suss out what's going on there. Or did you visualize there being like other things that have settled the area? Are there, you know, Duragar in the basement and harpies in the rafters, and they argue with each other all day, and they both want the other ones out of the house, and you kind of have to play them against each other, in which case we're actually going to turn the ghosts down a little bit. There's going to be like a sad ghost who wants his house empty. Did you like that spooky like court of specters angle, or did you want it to be like, and through the wall you see a blue tinted, like one ghost shows up and everybody's like, it's a fucking ghost? Yeah, exactly.
I think because we're going for the perfect one shot, I like variety. We're trying to show them a lot of what can be.
I agree. I think my initial take was going to be, there is one primary ghost, the ancient lord of this house, that you might be able to solve socially or by retrieving his faded weapon or whatever. But I think leaning more into the Shakespeare bit, it would be good to have uh two specters that you can interact with. One believes the other one had poisoned him. The other one thinks that he was killed for no reason after being blamed for that. And you can rectify that socially. Inside the castle itself, there's like an animated gargoyle. I think on your way to the keep, there are will-o'-the-wisps. They're going to mislead you and bring you to a pack of wolves. Yada, yada, yada. But that's where the social element can come in.
We're already cooking with so much gas.
We're so in.
Gargoyle is too high of CR
Too
for
high.
using canonical
Yeah.
monsters, but you can always nerf. I always tell, it's not that hard to sort of figure out what a lot of that is going to be. A lot of it is just the math that Wizards of the Coast does, which is somebody who's written a lot of monsters. They don't even stick to their own math. So if you take that monster and, they're supposed to be CR2 or CR2 in this case, if you cut their HP down a quarter and you reduce their to hit by like 3, that's a CR 1/2 monster. Like, you can just sort of snip and trim a couple of numbers down, keep everything else the same, and you are going to be totally golden. What it really boils down to, the thing you can't fix, is having too many bad guys in the room. That's where the real trouble comes in. 10 goblins can overwhelm high-level players. There's a joke a lot of times that, like, at a certain level you become invincible. That's because you stop playing with the rules after 15 levels. If you start saying, like, yeah, but the goblin's under half cover. What? He ducked behind the wall. Your player's eyes will widen with a primal fear of the sentence you have just said. If you describe an archer standing up, firing a crossbow, and then ducking back into full cover, dread will overtake your friends as they get ready for this game. So, great. We have these two specters. I love the idea that they are forever fighting a duel in which they both died. You know what I mean? Like, or, well, no, you said they're already dead. I love the idea that, like, in the foyer of this place, the two of them are in a constant, permanent struggle fighting each other. And so, like, having something where it's like, to cross through the front foyer of the house, the players have to make a dexterity saving throw to, like, dive around this combat without getting hit. If they fail, they take, maybe a little bit of damage, maybe something a little less because they're starting so low level, right? I don't want a random rapier cut to kill a player.
Two things. Along with just adding to this world, it'd be cool. Like with the fighting, they might be in this forever loop. Every hour on the hour, the duel starts for 5 minutes, and you could piece together stuff from seeing that fight or.
Well, that's fun. It's like a short, it's like a bout. So maybe is this, I kind of maybe like the idea then that these two both died in a fight. Like the two of them challenged each other to a duel over something and killed each other in the duel. And so every hour on the hour, the clock strikes 12 and the fight starts again. And for, 6 rounds, so not that long, 32 seconds in real time, these two have this very deadly, very fast duel. And so players have to stop and watch to try to figure out what is going on between the two of them and listen to these quips. Spencer, that would mean scripting a lot of snappy dialogue, but, that's certainly something you can do.
It's still super fun. And you can still add in, like, one of them thinks the other poison them, like,
I was weakened.
You're weakened.
In a poison.
You can add all that. The second thing is, Chef has asked, is the one shot for a single person, multiple people?
3 players.
3
2
players.
of them are experienced, one of them is inexperienced, has never played a TTRPG.
So we're going to keep the difficulty of this real low.
So here's what I'm thinking. I think I really like the idea of having this fight occurring. I think that in the rest of the castle, it could be really interesting to have those spirits in various rooms reliving moments that led up to it. Him filling up the chalice. Is there poison in that chalice? The other one drafting a letter talking about how this duel is going to go because yada yada yada. And going to each of these rooms provides a clue or 2 or 3 towards the overall mystery that can then be solved to clear them.
I have a huge question that none of us have asked yet, and an important question to ask yourself when writing a one-shot. How long are you guys going to play? How long do you have blocked out for this tomorrow? Tell me it's not 2 hours, you psycho.
We have 4 hours blocked.
Let's go. Perfect. Okay.
4 hours, awesome.
So 4
That's
hours.
a good size session.
4 hours means we're doing like a full day of adventure. And that means we're doing 5 to 7 encounters. An encounter is anything that makes the players burn resources. It's not necessarily a fight. So we're doing like 5 to 7 of those things. Some of them should be a little easier. Some of them should be a little harder. Some of them should be easy to avoid altogether.
We could even add a little bit more if we give pause for a short rest or a long rest in this area if we want.
Yeah, anytime you're going for like a full one shot, a short rest like 2/3 of the way through is great. What I like about this is once they've cleared out the physical threats in the manor, they will be able to take a short rest very easily. You know what I mean? So we've built up kind of the edges of this, right? You're going to open on this letter either from the heir to the keep, or maybe a conversation with them, or a letter to the players. They, in transit, try to arrive at the manor, right? The manor has been swallowed by a darkened wood in the 30 years since it has been closed. Tall pine trees that set scary, like terrifying shadows out into so maybe 40 years into the area around Abound. And you mentioned a first encounter, which I think is great. It's Will-o'-the-Wisps.
Always classic for ghost adventures. Will-o'-the-wisp hit every time.
Yeah.
One thing, as we do, we try and add what our chat is adding. Chef said it'd be cool if the child has fallen under a table in that room. You need a perception check to find that chalice, and you can detect or see if there's poison in it.
And an alternate on that is to open it up to more options. We've got some detect spell work that could go in. If you use detect magic or detect good and evil, blah blah blah, those things could illuminate.
Definitely.
There is some protection, I believe protection from poison. There's one of them that alerts you to the presence of poison as well. I think that maybe it's protection or maybe something else. I know there is D&D's worst spell, detect traps, which just lets you know if there is a trap somewhere nearby. It does not highlight it. It does not tell you what it is. It just says
a trap.
It just says somewhere near you there is a trap, and you're like, hey, I knew that. There's a skeleton over there. I actually put that together. So, okay, so we have this Will-o'-the-Wisp encounter as you arrive, right? The players, maybe you should have them roll some checks as they are arriving. We need them to get to the building, so the checks will be sort of, either not that important, or we'll just throw them into this encounter. If they fail, they see these lights driven in by the misery and betrayal of the manor house. These Will-o'-the-Wisps have begun to hunt in this area. They see these flitting spirits. They could roll perception checks to see what they are, history or arcana checks to identify them. That's great. If they succeed, they know not to follow them. They know to specifically go like the opposite direction of the Will-o'-the-Wisps. If they fail, they follow them. A Will-o'-Wisp's not a very hard encounter, but I think you nailed it earlier. A Will-o'-Wisp with a couple of wolves is enough to challenge a party. So I'm going to just Will-o'-Wisp arrow. Lead to wolves. Wolves are a nice, easy stat block that are more dangerous in a group, so the quicker you can thin them out, the better your situation will be. With 3 players, the math is very simple. I would dupe 2 wolves and a Will-o'-the-Wisp, right? We don't want this fight to be super deadly. By terms of CR, it already is. No, it's not. There's 3 of them. Everybody's low. They're not going to hit all their attacks, especially if somebody starts with, chainmail and a shield. That'll clean itself up pretty quickly. So Will-o'-Wisp, it leads to wolves. If they're smart enough to avoid them or to roll the right checks, they arrive at the manor house. I think they have to arrive just in time to see the duel begin. So let's place that duel. Is the duel in the courtyard out front? Is it in the main hall that you would be greeted in, and the foyer where there's a beautiful double staircase, one half of which is collapsed to show that time has passed? Or are they fighting kind of dynamically? Do they tumble out of a window onto the roof, and the fight continues on the roof until one of them trips and falls backward into the garden and hurts their leg? The duel continues as the other man jumps down, and they keep their fight going. Do you want this to be locked somewhere so that it's like an obstacle, something they have to roll to save? Or is it this very big cinematic brawl that they can just like watch happen that clearly won't cross paths with them?
I think it's locked in a position. If we have it constantly cycling, instead of at the top of each hour, it ends, restarts. I think we have that option for the trap where they have to get around it through a dex check or a persuasion check to say on my ready, and the ghosts will stop their attacks, and then you walk through and you say begin, and then they fight and you can continue on.
Great.
But
So
I think locked.
So it's a fight in position. It is locked. I think that means it has to just go in the front entryway, the place where you would meet everybody, right? I love a haunted house with two big circular staircases that lead up to the second floor. So this fight commences. It is constant. So I'm gonna list out a couple of our options that we've come up with. Normally, when you're prepping an adventure, if you're doing like a longer thing with your players, you don't need to be this prescriptive. You don't need to like nail down every little thing. It's a one-shot. We don't have the time to sort of let them wander and kind of piece it together. That would mean improving literally every single second that happens, which would make it hard to do that while also being like, no, it's so you add your strength and your proficiency, and then just your strength to the damage. You're going to be doing a lot of that. So giving yourself sort of that free space is important. So number one, I have this dexterity save with this fight in position. Number two, Spencer, I think you nailed on an awesome opportunity. I think a successful history check, even if it's like, do I recognize these two people? If they roll that history check and they get over a 15, I think not only do they recognize them, but you could also say, you also know duels like this had rules, and you can declare a stop so that you guys can pass safely. And if they succeed, they can. You spouted one out a minute ago that was pretty solid, and they would stop, and you can move, and then speak it again, and that'll make somebody feel cool because they'll have succeeded on the check.
Precisely.
Now it is important to note these are not ghosts, because otherwise the cleric is going to turn undead and your ghosts are going to run away into the front yard. This is an older thing. It is in Pathfinder and a few other things. They're a haunt. A haunt is not a ghost. A ghost you can stab until it dies. A haunt is like a trap. It eventually will disperse if you do positive damage to it or if you do something, but it will come back. It will reset with time unless you can sort of snuff out the source of the haunting. So I think that's an important thing to set, right? If they roll an Arcana check, be like, it actually doesn't seem to be ghosts, right? Ghosts react to what's happening in the world around them. Ghosts are cognizant and aware, even though they're confused. These two are running a script. It is consistent. It is the exact same. The stabs are the same. The little, the little japes are the same. A very different thing than a couple of specters that are like really embodying the space. So I think that's great. You get past them and you're in the manor house and you need to solve this mystery. Are we settled on the mystery is, did one of them cheat? Is it who killed who? Is it who is responsible for the origination of the duel? What do we see as being the heart of that mystery? What are they trying to solve?
The mystery is who cheated. Somebody cheated. Somebody was poisoned. There was this stuff going on. But the one who's claimed to have done the poisoning would be famously honorable, would never have done something like that. And I think the reveal here, after some close inspection, will be neither of them cheated. There was a third party that you can find somewhere in like the cellars of the keep, who is a real ghost that you can fight and stab to death, because it'll be super disappointing in a ghost adventure if you don't fight any ghosts. Some, servant of the castle or a cousin to this lord, had done it in a scheme to get this magical weapon or get the seat, yada yada yada. So then you do have a villain that you kill, you find the truth, you deliver it to the haunt, and then they disperse.
I get the strangest feeling Michael and I are about to say the same thing. Michael, go nuts.
Two things. I was gonna say, I think Shakespeare, it kind of has to be like a scorned lover.
Scorned lover. Interesting.
There's scorn lover, there's power plays, there's like the people one step below power that want to elevate themselves.
And then second thing, Chef was remarking how he wants CPK a party of 5 level 4s with 9 wolves.
Yo, yeah,
You get-
9 wolves will get
It
you.
was in Strahd.
Of course.
Strahd. I
Brutal.
TPK'd in Strahd the
But
next
just-
adventure. I killed one character with the wolves at the beginning, and then the animated armor killed everybody. Anyway, go ahead, Ethan.
The things that make TPKs happen are high ACs, more than 2 more monsters than there are people, and area of effect spells that Wizards of the Coast did not take the time to think about before they gave it to the imp in the dungeon. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh wow, how many, he can cast Fireball at will.
Oh,
Huh.
maybe not.
We did not think about this. Yeah, exactly. Number one, I would like to put forward, it might be fun to have this heir's ancestor be the cheater. That like the Lord isn't the one in the duel. Like the Lord died. The Lord died in the struggle that followed after these two killed each other. And ironically, the Lord poisoned one of them so that the fight would end quickly to save their whatever. And in doing so, they doomed the whole house by causing this fight to kill both of them, because the poison, I'm thinking maybe the poisoned one kills the other, and then the one who was poisoned dies from the poison.
Yep.
Straight up. And so then the Lord is like left with no heir. There's a power struggle, and he dies in the months that follow. Is my sort of knee-jerk instinct, is that it all comes down to this duel,
like
and it is actually the heir's ancestor that fucked everything up, and that that ancestor is in the attic with a ghostly rapier that will fall to the ground, and they can pick it up when they blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, exactly. You can. It's essentially something you can make disappear and reappear at will, so that way people can't claim it from you when you get
shit I've
arrested.
ever heard in my life. A
Yeah.
+1 rapier that is ghost blade.
Stop
Stop
the
it.
way rematerializes. Go ahead.
I was thinking location for the Lord. Could it be behind, like in a throne room behind like a puzzle door?
Ooh.
Puzzle door, I'm thinking like something that involves Shakespeare, because it's a Shakespearean one shot. And then just D&Dify it a little bit.
Yeah, we could definitely try to figure something out in that avenue, like, seek safety in the wisdom of your forefathers, and it's the secret escape route is behind a portrait of the first Lord of the Manor or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Okay. All right. So you arrive, you see this fight. It is, for my lord. And you're like, oh, so neither of these guys are it. And as you're moving around, you start to learn through all kinds of stuff. This is one of those things where, because it is so important to the plot, I don't want to say the lore of the fight is anywhere in particular. The instinct is like, oh, that's what I need to prep first. I think it's wherever they look, because you need them to quickly gather. These are like the 2 heirs apparent. The Lord preferred one over the other, and like that is the thing. Because if you put that behind a bunch of checks, they might fail. And then they're just going to be wandering around a haunted house with no idea what's going on. So I would take the time to, or at least make it explicit, put those things everywhere. In every room of the house, they can learn the source of this duel and the strange fate that it led to for the rest of the family. So one of those 2 approaches is what we're going to kind of have to think of here.
My advice is always, for a mystery in D&D, is have like way more clues than you think you could ever use, because people fail all the time. Somebody will roll, they're like, well, I'll roll to investigate, and it's like, okay, what do you have for plus on that? And they're like, -2. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't have, but somebody did it. I'm not gonna let everybody dogpile that check. That clue's gone. Now I got to put it somewhere else. Yada yada yada. So that's my advice. Just so many clues.
Yeah, like double, easy. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I that means that I don't think we need to sit here and be like, and there's a letter in the left drawer of the desk. We can kind of keep it a little
Just
bit
a
like
big list of stuff.
or like
Yeah.
what information is in each room, right? And then let them kind of divine it from there. So so you deal with the will-o-wisps. They lead you either to a wolf fight or you're smart enough to avoid them. You arrive at the front gate. You see this fight happening in the foyer. You either escape it or you don't. If you don't, a little damage as you dodge your way through.
1d4.
1d4 plus nothing. Like, these are very low-level characters. A wizard with some shitty con. If you roll a 4 on that d4, he's going to be like, I need a short rest.
Go on without me, party.
Remember me. Yeah, exactly. At peak, if memory serves, wizards have a d6 for their hit dice. That means minimum health on that wizard is, I think, 6. I think you can't actually have a minus to your max HP. That means they're capping out realistically at 7 or 8 HP. So we're gonna need to keep that real clean. So they get through that front area, and they're in the house. The house, I think, let's give it 2 floors. That just makes the most sense to me. And we need 3 or 4 more encounters to happen. Now we know what the 5th and final encounter is, and it is the fight with the Lord of the House. Right? And I think that is assured because no matter what you do, the Lord's going to get involved. I think if you learn the secret of what happened and you try to leave, he shows up to try to keep the secret. If you find the secret and you want to bring him justice, you're going to go find him yourself. That's great. If you manage to end the duel between the two of them, the ghost of the ancestor, confused, comes in and is like, no, the fight must continue, and draws his blade and fights you there. I think no matter what, right, they're going to end up fighting him. So that really leaves us 3 encounters down, 2 or 3 drifting in the middle.
I think let's make the floor plans and then introduce encounters through that.
Great.
I think there is a cellar, most likely. So that would be a storeroom, cellar, etc. You could potentially find poison there. You can find a hidden letter. You could find a secret passageway through there. Blah, blah, blah. That's one room. You've got the throne room or the entertainment chamber, and that's where we've got that puzzle door potentially set up, the portrait you have to go through to get there. There would be a kitchen, servants' quarters in that kitchen probably. Upstairs would be the 2 rooms of the 2 heir apparents, and then there would be the Lord's chambers probably. And each of those could have something. There could be a guest room. There could be a stable outside if we wanted that. Yeah, an armory and a stable outside if we wanted to fill up some more slots. But that's it.
So we arrive through the front room, and we're looking at an incredible tall set of doors. They're these beautiful mahogany doors. They lead to the throne room, right? That is right in front of us. Our eyes are drawn to that big set of double doors. We also see this dramatic staircase. Now lets the players know there is 2 very important things to do in this room, and it is go upstairs and get into the throne room. We learn those 2 things. That's great. If they stay in this room, then it sounds like there's a hallway maybe stretching in either direction. Whenever I think of manor houses, I think of I'm stuck in Edwardian England ones where it's a long central area with 2 arms coming off the back, so that you have this north wing and south wing, and then the central area of the house. So you walk in, there's this hallway stretching off. We can go to the servants' quarters. We can definitely learn something there. Prithee, I have heard that the Meister has ordered poisons in the... the apothecarist has been in town. Something like that. We learn that there was poison. Poison was there. That guy's not lying. He does feel, I feel the sting of venom in my veins. He's telling the truth. He means it. So
I taste almonds. Chef put in a very good comment, and it's something that we do a lot. Is combat encounters don't have to be the only kind. I'm always a fan of using hazards or traps as substitutes. I fully agree. Hazards are an awesome substitute for combat encounters, and social. I love social encounters.
True. You know what we could do if we have one of those staircases crumbling or like already crumbled, unusable, the other one can be unstable. So when the party crosses it, if they don't make dexterity or athletics check, yada yada yada, it can collapse, and they can all get some injury there, and then they'll have to use athletics to climb up this dilapidated staircase that's totally fallen to disrepair after the fact.
Okay,
So there's an additional trap.
Stair collapse on fail, I love. Poison secret and servant's room, great. We have this front room trap, so we have a lot of those little things kind of skirting around the edges that people can try to avoid, or maybe, kind of dive headfirst into if they don't feel like solving it. I definitely see the reality where one of your players is a Goliath barbarian, and he goes, I know how to deal with this, and he reaches up and he tosses the wizard up the stairs.
Sure.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of fun ways around the trap, and that's always a good thing. You never want to interrupt. If we have an armory, right, where these things are on display, that means it's for people to see, which means it's on the first floor, right? Most of the time, if you're visiting a manor house, you aren't going to go where the bedrooms are. You're going to stay in these like very public areas. One of them is this beautiful foyer. One is off to the left, right? If the servants' quarters to the left, that means the kitchen is, which means the dining room is. So you can go there and see some fun stuff, see some portraits and whatever. If you go to the right, you see this beautiful armory with gilded suits that they will want to steal. So have them rust magically, or only have one of them like make sense. Have it be like plate mail, but there's one set and it's way over there, and you'll be stealing it. You know what I mean? Or as the magic fades, the gilded armor begins to rust and fall apart. Oh no, it's so sad.
What do you think about in the foyer, the a nice pretty spot, there being like a fireplace with I'm thinking almost like a fire elemental, never something that would just always burn forever. It was just part of it.
You're talking about Calcifer.
The deep
Exactly. Yep. Definitely thinking that.
fire method is right up there. Fire method
Fire
would be the
method.
thing to go.
And that it could be a servant of the house that's gone mad through time. If you can beat it, you get some
It's
information.
like, hello,
Yeah.
I am Lord Cinder, God King of all I survey. And you see that there's a rune carved into the fireplace behind him. The rest of the fireplace has fallen apart, but that one brick is magical. And in D&D, magic items do not age and cannot be destroyed. So there's this one pristine keystone above the fireplace. I am master of all I survey. And you look in front of him, and there's a bunch of cockroaches. Like,
That could be a social encounter or a fighter encounter.
no, I love that. As a social encounter, it's hilarious. And as a combat encounter, it would be 1 second long. And that's perfect. So I'm gonna write, this like fire method. It also gives Spencer an opportunity to do a very silly voice, and everybody loves
Always fun.
the silly
New
voice.
players love silly voices.
Old players love silly voices.
Everybody loves
I've
silly
never met a
voices.
player that's not pretty jazzed to hear somebody
Yeah.
sound like an old-timey prospector. Okay, so you go through the front room, you see this fight, you maneuver around it. There's a collapsing staircase, which is a trap. There is this secret over near the dining room. There is the armory over to the other side. The armory will probably... If maybe something was tampered with, was the armor tampered with, was the weapon tampered with, right? If there's more signs of treachery, you could certainly go over that way. We are definitely painting a picture of one of these two being a much better duelist than the other. So we should see if we want that to be true, because if not, multiple people need to be cheating. Right, the Lord cheats with the poison, and then we find out, the bastard son's mother was snuck into the servants' entrance and blunted the sword of the other. Like, if we want it to be unfair on both sides, we can do that. Or one of these people is like an extremely competent soldier, and the other one is some random dude. And the two of them somehow have a duel and both die, and that's the confusion. Then we could just sort of layer it.
I think the second. I think that it's all layered on one end where it's like he should have won. he didn't. There was clearly treachery afoot, but
Yeah,
it wasn't who it was.
I'm very cool with the bastard child being an amazing duelist who lost.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. It's this like random dude who's like, it's like I signed on for the city guard for 10 years, and every morning I train. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
my name is
Uh,
Ponceval, and my sword master was paid very well. Like just absolutely terrified, pale in the face. Okay, that's great.
Yep. That's why he still wins through all this shit that's happened, but
Yeah, but then dies because of poison.
Absolutely. And then, so if the cellar isn't like a huge, capacious space with enemies, then it's a wine cellar right below the kitchen. Did you imagine?
The enemies are rats.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
We gotta throw some rats.
where rats?
No were rats. They're too high powered.
It's finally time. My hour has come. If you want to understand that joke, you're going to have to watch several hundred hours of content on our channel. I apologize. Enjoy it. You're going to have a great time.
Chef has said, Rat King!
The Rat King.
Yeah, you got to go to the YouTube channel, Chef, because that's where our backlog of content is. But
it is not all as good as this, but it's all fun.
A lot of it. A lot of it.
Yeah, I love the idea of fighting the Rat King, and it is like a council of 10 rats who have all been tied together. That's extremely funny. If you wanted to throw in some classic D&D monsters, if I was running this as a one-shot and I wanted to like throw in some classics they might have heard of, I would have there be a tunnel dug up in one of the corners and a bunch of kobolds picking through loot that immediately cues them up as deeply and profoundly evil kobolds, where it's like they're picking through loot. It is mostly gold teeth and boots. So, you could go rats if you're going for that classic fantasy joke of like, go in the basement and kill rats for a copper piece. That's great. If you wanted a classic monster, some kobolds were tunneling beneath the manor house and accidentally broke up into the cellar. They have drunken all of the wine. They all have disadvantage on their attack rolls and are just yucking it up as they sort of look over the treasure of some of the people that they've fought and killed. So
I love that idea.
Low-level cellar encounter is hilarious. Cellar encounter huge.
Chef has said, really put him corner turn. Throw false hydra at them.
Oh, false hydras are so crazy. I love a false hydra.
Very fun.
They would die in like maybe 1.1 seconds.
I love the concept of the false hydra. The only problem is if everyone at the table is not a very strong improviser who's confident in their choices, it's hard to not have a bunch of people just be confused for 3 hours. But if you've got the group that is willing, that will hear you say something like, hey, you lose 10 hit points. You have been attacked, you don't know by what. And they will take that and run down the road with it. That's great.
It's incredible. With the right group, I think maybe one of the best monsters ever thought of for D&D. With the wrong group, maybe one of the worst monsters ever created for D&D.
Got a high floor on that bad boy, but a high ceiling.
But it's so good.
Okay, so we've got those things on the bottom floor. We've got that cellar encounter. I think that's really fun. I know that this is probably the only session they're going to do, but it's still exciting to find valuable items. It is deeply funny to have there be a bottle of wine on the shelf that is worth several hundred gold, and that's like one of the treasures. It's like one of the players is like, I want to look around. You roll perception, and it's like, could it be the Chateau Vivant, year 1241. They take it off the thing. It's got a dragon on the bottle, and it's like, only 9 bottles were ever made. And you put it off to the side. I love the idea of art objects that aren't a golden necklace with, teeth of a dragon in it. And instead it's like, this is an incredibly rare vintage or something like that is really fun.
That's very fun.
So they go upstairs. They have bedrooms. We have to have something happen upstairs. It could be another haunt. It could be a trap. It could be, a puzzle of some kind. What did we sort of visualize as happening there? We know there's a bedroom for the prince, who I am, in my head, is now Ponceval. We have Ponceval's room, and we have the Lord's room. Is there a third? Like, do we walk up, and there's, like, this beautiful area, and then some, like, doors off to the side that lead to these 2 bedrooms? What else do we visualize?
Library.
Up top, yeah. Because
You can see a small library.
what we said earlier was that the chalice with the poison was going to be upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still upstairs? Does that move down to the dining room and some other important clue moves upstairs? What are we... What's prattling around our brains on this one? Because I gotta be honest, I don't have anything particularly exciting for upstairs.
I think a library, yes. If you have a wizard in the group, I think this is a cool place to have a spell book, so they can take a couple spells and throw them into their list.
If we're sticking with the theme that there was this like power struggle that destroyed this house and like nobody won, you could straight up have like the court wizard in robes in the library with like a sword sticking out of his chest, holding as a skeleton with like the book held close to the chest. That is a fantasy trope that I love and that I don't use enough. I love the idea that like they still clutch it even in death. Is one of my favorite tropes. It's like the wizard still has not relinquished their spell book. And maybe if you touch it, the wizard shows up. Maybe that skeleton animates. I'm just spitballing.
That's pretty fun.
He was a necromancer, and a few of the skeletons in the room rise to defend the spell book.
Sure,
like you see a spell carved into the front of it, flash green. That's pretty good.
I think if we're putting an encounter like that in there, I think there has to be a note scribed into the book also. Like,
yeah, it's like the poison that this wizard concocted at order of the lord of the house, right? Written in the margins, you can find the ingredients.
And there's these like runes on the front cover that are softly glowing, even though it's been 60 years since this house fell. If somebody rolls an Arcana check and they succeed, it is a magical trap. If anybody touches the spellbook who's not supposed to, it will summon undead in the area immediately around it. I think is solid. And I like the idea this court magician, wizard, mage, magister, sorcerer, blah blah blah, was the one who made the poison, and so you sort of, as much as you can make the cool thing in the room also the plot thing in the room, you've succeeded already before you've even begun. Okay.
And at this point, we're building up to like, okay, one of these two definitely did it, but it seems like it still probably wasn't Percival or whatever his name is. It could have been the Lord of the House.
Yeah.
And then we get to the room of the Lord of the House, where there might be one final bit of information that we can glean, and then they move into the room downstairs, the throne room.
Ponsival having a journal that's like, my mother attempted to slip me a vial of noxious poison to give to him, and I said, no, I'll best this jackanape on my own talents.
Yes,
making
exactly.
it very clear that, like, he refused
never.
it. He insisted on being honorable, even though it would definitely get him killed, and it did. Right? Somebody tried to get him to cheat, and he said no. Is a really fun angle, because that tells you, like, well, someone fucking poisoned him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we want any red herrings or false leads? Like,
no.
Well, the only thing I was thinking of was there's a false lead of like the bastard son poisoning Percival, but then you go into it and it's a definite no.
So I think no, because for a one shot, I can't abide by a red herring because it'll burn a lot of time. I think in campaigns you need red herrings. Otherwise the mystery gets solved too quick and it's not very satisfying when you've got 20 more sessions to go. But for a one shot, I think it needs to be, there already is a baked in red herring, which is Percival, whatever that dude's name is the one who poisoned him, obviously. And then you realize, no, it wasn't him. It was the Lord of the House. Yeah. And I think there's some information, like, as you go through, that will lead you to realize that this claimant was a bastard son. So you get that information through the clothes he's wearing in this fight are clearly commoner's garb. You go into this room, there's only one room for one son. There's a letter talking about him as a bastard child. After a while you go, oh, I see what this fight was about, and then you realize why he was poisoned in the first place. Yada yada yada.
I like it.
Two things. Thank you to OPFS for follow.
Thank you so
Shout
much.
out for the follow.
And then Chef said that your experienced players are going to be expecting like 5 red herrings.
Oh
Good.
yeah.
Good.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
And
Which is going to
sometimes
be even more wild.
it's
that there's
always
none.
it's always funny when you're like, no, I'm known for putting in just the most circuitous M. Night Shyamalan twists in the campaigns. When you show up one day and it's like, no, yeah, there's a dragon in a cave and it just kills citizens, you'd be like, damn.
The gulf
it.
between a level 1 mystery and a level 2 mystery is just, it's the width of the Grand
so big.
Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
Famously, I do want to say, what is funny is Spencer doing that all the time has poisoned his brain for other people's. We were running a Delta Green, so it's like a modern Call of Cthulhu RPG forever. And every mystery, Spencer would be like, I bet it's just a normal serial killer, and Ethan's fucking with us. For like 4 arcs in a row, Spencer said that like 5 times per arc. So you've really warped your own perception of how often.
It would have been so funny if it was just a guy that entire game. Oh my god. I stand by that.
I
It's
have
so
a little fun side note. I said the word jackanape earlier, and my brain immediately went, let's look that
Gotta
up.
look at one.
Let's give the etymology of that word a quick look-see. So it is a play on words of Jack of Naples.
Yes,
It's
of
calling somebody
course.
Jack of Naples because Jack, the name, was an insult to refer to a saucy or impertinent fellow. Somebody that was like standing above their station or like being insulting. And so the term jackanape is a mix of Jack of Naples and Jack the Ape, which is an impertinent person who is also an idiot. And they
Jesus
just blended
Christ.
over time to become
What a brutal insult.
Jackanape, which means like Jack the dull-witted man from Naples. And Jack is also an insult, so it means the overly self-important idiot from Naples.
So wild.
That's
And
hilarious.
we're still kicking that one around.
Yeah.
Nice.
Etymology is a joy when it doesn't turn out to be terrible.
Yes.
50%.
Spencer, Chef said that you gave him an idea for his campaign
Oh,
he's working
yeah.
on. So
No.
Let's go. That's my joy in life, is just wild plot lines. So I'm glad.
Someday I will run a Delta Green adventure that will just be a normal man is killing people and is weird. But alas, we'll have to wait until I run one, until maybe we get a game on stream somewhere where we play that. Okay, so this is entirely fleshed out. We've, I think, struck gold here. So they walk in through the front room. They hear these two laying out insults into one another. They can listen to intuit some clues or poke around. And that's kind of a mix of exploration and there's an element of social, right? Because we know that there's a ghost in the kitchen that they can talk to, right?
Mm-hmm.
That will provide information if they can convince them that they are masters of the house and that they, need that intel. They go upstairs. There is this library with an encounter that is fully optional. I think that's great. And there's more secrets hidden in these 2 bedrooms, right? They can start to get an outline of what is going on, references to the poison. Something that I would put in, because the puzzle solver in the room, they probably won't find it, but the puzzle solver will feel like a genius, which is that like the court wizard has an expenditure report for how much they spent on the poison. And in the Lord's room, there is a ledger, and if somebody is like, because I'm that person and I've met other players like that, you can be like, they paid the same cost as what was
36 silver
listed,
pieces.
but it was registered as being for wine or something, but it's the exact same cost right down to the penny. That'll be enough to make somebody be like, I'm the smartest player in this or any reality. For every obvious clue, put in an incredibly obscure one, just so that somebody can feel smart for rolling their 13th investigation check. Finding all of that out, they begin to collect references to this other part of the manor house, to this place that the Lord would have fled. They go downstairs, they enter into the throne room. If we wanted another encounter, I would probably put a suit of animated armor in the room. I don't listen. I
I've
don't
been
like it
burned
either.
before.
You know what I would use? This is not a joke. We have a one shot for first level players that we have put up on Drive Through RPG,
The
and
Tin Soldier?
in that I made a weaker but more interesting suit of animated armor, which is an animated tin soldier. So their AC's not as good, but they're stronger. So something like that, maybe. Bring that. Animated armor is fun, but let's just sort of de-juice some of their outside abilities. And then over the shoulder, what's that? It is the portrait. And what's that with your passive perception of 15, Ranger? You see a gentle breeze blowing a cobweb near the portrait as if it's breathing. Yeah.
And for our viewers who are interested in claiming some stat blocks that we've made very interesting, go ahead and hit up Drive Through RPG, search up The Lich's Dollhouse, and you'll find it right there. Or TTRP Guy, whatever. It's a measly pittance of $3
We are
for several stat blocks, a map, a couple maps, and a full little adventure. So check it out.
Emperors of self-promotion.
Yeah.
So you approach, you find this hidden entrance. You don't even need to have found the clue, right? I think a passive perception, and let's set that DC nice and low. We'll say like a cobweb in front of the portrait moves as if the portrait is breathing. Somebody walks up, they try to move the portrait. It moves and exposes this tunnel. They find the lord of the manor. He is 2/3 of the way down. And for the Shakespeare of it all, and there is a dagger in his back and his coin purse is gone. He was not killed for his terrible thing. None of these crimes were what met his end. One of the servants of the house who had been fired stabbed him in the back, took his coin purse, and ran for the hills. He died a peasant's death in a random corner of the house. But his body is being guarded by his own spirit that still walks the halls. You said you wanted this to have a social angle. I love that idea. We have not painted a social portrait of this gentleman. What do you think the social solution is? Can you bring peace to this ghost? Is it that if you can persuade him to admit to those specters, will he disappear? What is the social out that you see? Granted, listen, if your players come up with a good idea and they roll over a 15, whatever they do is the solution. But did you have something? Did you see a path ahead? Because I kind of don't, but I trust you too.
Me and Michael had a similar answer here, which was the social was going back to the haunts in the front of the house and telling them the truth.
Gotcha.
They would then seek out that lord and kill him.
Yeah.
They would then say, "We did it," and they go on. They ascend to their various heavens, and you go and you tell the lord of the house that it's his.
The thought that these two are like, look at us, brothers in blood and talent, brought low by our wicked father's ill plans.
Yeah.
These two wander off into the astral sea to go fight, I don't know, liches or something. That's pretty fun stuff.
If it kind of takes it keeps the social a little bit, but keeps a little bit of combat too. If you do the social piece and kind of explain what happened, do we still want to fight with the Lord, but we have the assistance of those two? Or we could make it full on, if we just want social, have it movie almost, where they go in to fight the Lord. You don't interact at all, and it's a quick fight, but
I love a pair of ghosts dragging a third ghost to hell so much. It is one of my faves. Him just sort of, no, as he's dragged below ground is fine. Them killing him outright is fine. But I would rather, this is like a real nitpicky DM writer thing. I don't want the ghosts to do player stuff to win. The players are fighting. I don't want the ghosts to fight to win. So the two of them teaming up, maybe. But I kind of like the idea better that they like grab him and fly off, and you begin to and you see them do something about being a ghost helps instead of something about being good with a sword helping. Very nitpicky, but it's a small preference.
That's fine. That could definitely.
I will offer this up. You tell them first. They thank you for freeing them from this curse. And the Lord or the bastard draws Ghostblade and gives it to you. For this encounter, it will give you advantage on all attacks against the Lord of the House, right? That thing goes away after you've done this fight, but they say, thank you, we are finally free. Take my blade to banish him to hell. And then they go off to the Astral Sea. You kill their father with the blade.
Good.
Bing, bang, boom. You get a little bit of both.
I love it. Again, it is a thing that in the moment you're going to need to very quickly and adroitly assess, are any of my players greedy little shitheads? Because you're going to hand one magic item to 3 people. Yep. In this case, you're fine, because there's a picture here of 2 seasoned players and a seasoned DM and a new player. And so the seasoned players are both going to go, oh,
there you go.
You want that? And they're going to give it to the new player, and it's going to be great. If we were to publish this adventure, I would actually, because I think being really honest in those in your books is huge. Just being addendum. It's only one sword. If your players are weird, they hand the sword to whoever solved the mystery. That's all. They don't hand it to the fighter. Yeah. They don't hand it to the ranger. Your party can decide amongst themselves who gets it later. They hand it to whoever solved the mystery, and then they vanish. And then, and hopefully they will hand it to somebody with a high wisdom or intelligence who succeeded on their rolls, which means they hand it to a wizard or a cleric, who then gets to hand it to the person that makes the most sense. It lets multiple people touch the cool magic item without needing to worry too much about who gets it. Little outs like that for yourself, in my opinion, are great, especially for when you're playing with randos, different people that you don't know that well.
In addition to that, hopefully at this point in the adventure, they will have found the wizard's tome, and they will have found that 300 gold piece bottle of wine. So the rogue is happy, and the wizard is happy, and now the fighter and or barbarian and or yada 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 gets this weapon. So they go, yippee! Everybody gets a cool little item, and you get to move on.
If I was a rogue and the ghost blade, which vanishes when it is not willed to be seen, was brought out, I would be like, I will forswear my portion of the treasure entirely and give you my boots. If you let me have that pretty please. You simply must. I don't want to be rude, but please. Just tears welling up in your eyes.
I will say, me and Ethan diverge in our DMing styles in one way, which is when I have everybody show up to the session and they say, I'm playing a wizard, I'm playing a rogue, I'm playing a fighter. Great. These items will work well with them. Ethan is of the mind that to make the world feel more real, the item should match the circumstance.
Yeah.
I'm of the mind, I like to hook my players up with cool shit all the time, so I give them whatever. I think that tome that the wizard has could just as easily be a necromantic dagger that a rogue could use. And I would swap those things around, but I don't think Ethan would. So that's just a DM style.
When I read an adventure that I've paid money for, I don't mind at all when they say this is what I visualize, but here's a couple other things it could be.
Yeah.
For me, the joy is you find this item and the party's like, how do we change everything about what we do to accommodate this item? But it's not a perfect system. We run a home game that has been going for a really long time now, where we basically play Icewind Dale, and they found a backpack that was mounted into this Duragar prince that is basically Bane's Venom backpack. Ooh, Nicole made a craft. Hello. It's
crochet heart.
That's awesome.
Very cute. I like it.
Me.
I didn't think she could do it, but
Good
she
job.
did.
I didn't know you were crocheting.
And so is this Venom backpack, and because it didn't really fit with any of the players, guess what? It's been rotting in a bag of holding. So It's not a perfect system. Sometimes the players just go, well, and they toss it in a bag of holding and sell it to the first merchant they meet with enough money. But it's still my favorite way to do it, because I love somebody finding a great sword and being like, I guess I'm a great sword guy now, which is what Spencer did when he found one of my great swords, because he found it in this, this place where this famous headsman had died, and he had this big flat top greatsword. I think both are super valuable, though. I just, we all have our personal preferences. I'll say this as a player, I do like Spencer's a little better sometimes, because it's good to know that when we get to the next room, I don't need to be like, oh great, a +2 bow. Woo!
We're a rangerless party.
We're a paladin, a fighter, and a cleric, and I'm like, thank you. Yeah, having it kind of always fit can be fun. Michael, what's up?
Yeah.
Chef saying he used a loot generator for the longest time, and I think that's a good one. He said it keeps it random, keeps it fun.
True. That's true.
Especially
That's
for
closer to Ethan's style.
especially for improv games. It's really a question of like, what about DMing is fun for you? For Spencer, it's
Yeah.
chatting with your friends and hanging out, and so it's whatever works for you guys. For me, it's still chatting with my friends, but it's spending 9 hours making a dungeon. So
Yep.
I like to think too hard about what the Crown Prince's gauntlets do. When it
So-
would be a lot easier to just be like, the gauntlets do whatever you need the gauntlets to do. So we should sort of scoot here. So we've got this ghost.
We've been riffing,
blade.
but I think we're kind of, that's basically everything, right? We've got the blade, we've got a way to socially get it instead of killing him and then finding it outside. We've got encounters. Do we have the right amount of encounters at this point?
We have too many.
Wow. Okay, then
Oh.
I'm not going to say
We
anymore.
have too many, but we have 3 optional encounters
Yeah.
where you have to mess something up to do
Mhm.
them, right? So it is Will-o'-the-Wisp / Wolf encounter if you fail the check to know what's going on and that you should avoid it. It is the front foyer fight if you can't roll well enough to sort of dodge it. It is the fire method who remembers some dark secret about the family. He probably saw the poison change hands. It is the cellar encounter. It is the social situation of informing the haunts is technically an encounter, right? You need to solve the mystery, hand it over to the haunts. That is technically an encounter. There is the actual fight with the Lord of the House. There is the skeleton trap. If you don't succeed that. There is the staircase collapsing if you don't succeed on that, and there is the throne room encounter. So we are at 9, which is too many, but like 3 of them are optional. So
Did you say Rat King?
yes.
Oh, the rat and the.
Oh, did I
the
not say
cellar.
basement? 10.
I don't think
10
so.
encounters.
So I've pretty solid for a keep. you know?
Yeah, definitely great for a one shot, especially because so many of them are optional, and also because 2 of them are encounters. You have a conversation with a fire method, and you have a conversation with the 2 princes in the foyer. Is that an encounter? I don't know.
No,
You have the Will-o'-the-Wisps, which is fully optional. You have the Spellbook Trap, which can be disabled. And you have the Staircase thing, which everyone might just succeed on. So you kind of have 5 that are a little bit on the lighter side that can be solved by being clever rather than with spell slots and hit points and blah blah blah. The short rest, again, I think here is pretty clear. You make your way upstairs, you're in the library, you deal with the thing. You can stop for an hour, drink some water, eat some jerky, and get ready for the rest of this fight. You have to listen to the sound of the clank, 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 going on downstairs, but all the rest of it is pretty much good to go. So, for the normal length of the stream, we have 28 minutes on the clock, right? This is normally sort of in that ballpark. I see 2 paths ahead. Number 1, we do a bit. It's been a while since we've done one of Spencer's many good bits. Number 2, we stop for a breath and make the stat block for the Lord of the House. See if he has any special abilities and what we think they should be.
I think we do a bit. We haven't done a bit in a minute.
All right. In that case, I'll just take a moment while Spencer picks what bit to do to say. So, the Lord of the House for this boss encounter. Our players will have been through a bunch of fights, and they'll have taken that short rest. So, the actual Lord himself can't be too tough, because otherwise he'll probably end up, like, killing one of the players, which is always rough in these kinds of situations, right? You want things to feel hard, but not sort of spill over into impossible. I would definitely say he should be a little on the weaker side. He's this noble, but he can call his what do you call him? Like a completely untrained fighter. They have a name. It's like a dude with a stick who helps protect the kingdom in a pinch. It's these sort of like pitchfork people. So him being able to like
Minute Man
and summon a CR 1/8 like dude with 2 HP. Even if you wanted to, I would even just use MCDM. Matthew Coville's company's minion rules. Any hit kills the things that he summons. It doesn't matter if it does 1 damage or 5 damage or 10 damage. If it does too much, you kill 3 or 4 of them, you know, with a single swipe of your blade, because that just cleans up the encounter a little faster.
Chef has asked, do we want to give it a layer action?
The layer
like
action.
a layer action called Master of the House, where you spontaneously teleport to another room of the house, would be pretty good. Where like the whole encounter moves, and all of a sudden there's new furniture and new things going on. Little intensive as far as like battle maps go. Outside of that, for layer actions, his layer action could be summoning an ally, and so every round a new ally is showing up, and so you're having to kind of maintain keeping them down while fighting the Lord. That's one that I always love, because round 1 the players are like, oh, he summoned a guy. Round 2 he does it again, they're like, ooh, the other guy's still alive. Round 3 he does it again, and all of a sudden they're like, kill the minions, focus fire. Like the party's goals start to shift pretty hugely.
If this were a level 3 session, I would make the Bastard Son and the Trueborn Son, the layer action summons, if you didn't do the social resolution of telling them the truth of what occurred. So if you go and you tell them, there's no layer action. If you don't, he summons them to aid him in this fight.
No,
there is layer.
Honestly, keeping some version of that might be really cool. It's just a deck save or take damage, right? He doesn't summon them as a CR'd bad guy, because it would be really fun to have him use his layer action and be like, you see him and nothing happens, and a look of dread crosses his face as he sees the blade of his son before him. You know, that's
exactly.
I think that's a really nice moment. All right, with that,
It was cool.
I think we've got that layer action, at least as an idea. We've got another plot element. Let's do this bit and ride off into the sunset.
We're going to play a game of They Say, You Say, I Say.
Oh, no.
For those of us who don't know about They Say, You Say, I Say, it's pretty simple. We each roll a d20.
In that it's
and
the hardest bit.
Yeah, it is the hardest bit. Whoever rolls the lowest has to come up with a scenario. The They Say, You Say part of that is the ones who roll higher. In order, the highest says a location of their choice. So that could be a cathedral to a lost order of monks. It's all set in, Fantasyland, USA. You know what I mean? You Say is the next highest, and that is a monster from Dungeons and Dragons. So, a blue dragon, or a white, or a wolf, whatever. So they say that lost cathedral of monks. The other person says wolves. The last person then has to come up with an adventure hook with a bit of a resolution to it that is made up on the spot within a minute. So you have to say it all out within 1 minute. So we're all going to roll a d20, and we're going to see who rolls highest.
Any dice out. It is important to note the other two players do not. They come up with those things in a bubble, so they could be. Yeah. You could have some real randoms. We had a gelatinous cube in a Cloud Giant's castle one time.
Yeah, and it was real good. You had a great solution for that, but we have to say it all at the same. We do it at the same time. We don't.
Yes.
Yes, I believe wolves would work there.
I rolled my little tiny d20.
I'm telling you right now, boys, I rolled pretty good. So watch out. I don't think that I'm going to be doing a high
3.
Ooh. I got a 12.
Well,
I got a 14.
I got a 3. All right.
All right, so now we're going to consider. Me and Michael are going to consider for a minute here. And Michael, I am riffing, so you've got some time to come up with a monster.
So you're doing place. Got it.
I'm doing place. You're going to do monster.
Because we all agree that place is the easiest, because you don't need to quickly scroll through D&D Beyond to be like monster.
Yeah, you really get to say whatever.
Or pull out a favorite. It helps to have a good half dozen of them somewhat memorized.
Chef gave a fun one. A Bodak in LA selling a shitty movie script. Turned down without being gaze killed.
See, and that is like a distilled version. Ethan, what were you gonna say?
I'm just thinking about a Bodak. Those like long. They're these like A
I'm trying to think what
long-faced
Bodak.
undead that have like these deep vacuous holes for eyes and a mouth.
Mhm.
I'll have to
That
look it
are
up. I don't know it.
See,
absolutely
you hit us sort of with
great.
a monster of the week prompt, which I think is very fun.
Love
Yes.
Monster of the Week. That would be honestly really good. The thought that like people in LA are dying and it's this like specter or demon that's trying to hawk a
Mhm.
script, and when people say no, he eats their souls. The two of you simply must have had enough time to come up with what your things are.
Oh yeah. Mine is the unfinished tower, long abandoned by Mordenkainen.
Oh.
Unfinished Tower of Mordenkainen. Great.
And Michael, your monster de choice.
I'm going with because I don't know what is the highest CR method.
I'm pretty sure they're all pretty low.
One,
Yeah, I
maybe
was pretty
two.
sure they were pretty low.
I'll double check really quick.
They're like
just so
the
we're sure.
smallest elemental, although they are
There's
fun.
magma and ice, and those are both 0.5.
All right, so it is a magma and ice method.
Ooh, a combo.
Okay, magma and ice method. Okay.
And now the game is Ethan has 1 minute to kick out an adventure hook that instills both of these into one thing. Distills.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I've got it. All right. So this, the unfinished tower of Mordenkainen was supposed to be a workshop for building constructs, originally golems, but some term changing has occurred there. These constructs. While the tower was still under construction, while Mordenkainen was off exploring the multiverse, as they were digging into the basement, they basically stumbled upon one of these a portal into the plane of elemental chaos, the kind that Gloomstalker Rangers are always looking for. As they busted into it, these mephits popped out and possessed two of the constructs. And so there is a magma method that has possessed a construct and an ice method that has possessed a different one. And in a real snow miser, heat miser, one of them is living in the basement and one of them is living in the top of the tower, and neither of them can leave because they keep meeting in the middle and fighting every time one of them tries to escape. And so you either need to choose one of the two of them you want the favor of and to kill the other, or work it out, or kill them both because you want to keep, and you're a wizard and you're here to claim it. So you either have a way into a stronghold, a fight for a magic item, or a little social encounter to say, why don't the two of you just straight up leave, you morons? And that's my pitch for they say, you say, I say.
Woo! Good job. I like it.
Nice.
I like building them out so the methods aren't easily destroyable by any party. Throwing them into some constructs is very good.
And the thought that like you destroy one, but the problem is this was supposed to be a workshop, and so there's like hollow construct bodies everywhere, and so every time you kill them, they scramble over to the next construct.
Hilarious.
Is super fun. And I love a little guy possessing a big thing. Ironically, same campaign, Icewind Dale, we just had a fight that was hundreds of ice methods that molded together into a giant Mephiton, a giant Mephit Titan that was just like fighting the party, that they immediately banished back to the plane of chaos because the DM forgot how banishment worked.
Shout out to my character, Walnut Moondust Wimplebottom, Fey Prince. We did banish it.
It takes a long time to build up the ability in yourself to have real joy in your heart when an encounter that took you 2 hours to write takes less than one round to solve. You have to really build up in yourself the like, they grow up so fast instinct when thinking of your players. All right, so with that, I think we can wrap up this session of DM Writer's Room. Super awesome to have a nice active chat. Glad you guys could tune in for this. This was really fun. Really great prompt from Spencer. We've been doing other stuff without this. What you just missed on this same stream, which is our Tuesday 7:30 stream, is you just missed us working on playbooks for Monster of the Week. We think we're going to do one more of those, where we're going to be working on the Bureaucrat or... Oh, Spencer, what was that? You pulled a great one the other day. What was the other name you came up with?
Brother. There ain't no way I remember right now.
Spencer pulled out the name for somebody who is like a paladin is empowered by their oath. This person is empowered by a place. And that was really fun and sort of in line with what we were thinking of for the bureaucrats. So that's those playbooks we've been working on. We've got one more in the ropes. When we're done with those, I believe the plan is to put them out for free somewhere for people to play if they would like to. So, those will be out on maybe TikTok or something here in the next little bit. Tune in Thursdays at 7:30 for our actual play live stream. We are currently running, Spencer is running Monster of the Week, the Prince of Charming. We just finished up our excruciatingly long Theros campaign, and Spencer went, I'm immediately going to run the next one. That has been a joy. I am a cryptid hunting fellow from the state of Mississippi. Michael's character is an FBI agent who does not believe in the supernatural. Some other friendly faces there. Nicole
was here 1 second ago. She is a cheerleader at the local college.
Yeah, so that's been a hoot. And then tune in on Sundays for our gaming stream, which Michael runs. That is Game Masters, Master of Games. We are currently playing through Elden Ring. Not Elden Ring.
Nope.
We're currently playing through Baldur's Gate 3 as the Big Boy Squad. That has been a lot of fun. We just picked up Karlach, Honorary Big Boy, because we forgot that Halsin can be a real weirdo. So maybe we'll still play with the big druid every once in a while. We might be taking a sabbatical to jump over to Elden Ring or something else here in the next few minutes, just because, it takes a long time to play through acts of Baldur's Gate, and you kind of want a breather between acts when you're doing it for stream. So that should be coming up soon. Definitely check us out on TikTok. Spencer's been killing it over there with some fun stuff. We've been getting more active on YouTube, so check out there. Check out our fart buckle video, and on Drive Through RPG, or do we post the other one or just Drive Through RPG?
Just Drive Through.
On Drive Through RPG, you can find us there. Also under TTRP Guy, our first ever adventure was the Lich's Dollhouse. It's definitely our first adventure, but I think it's a lot of fun. It has a lot of good, silly stuff in it. So, throw the $3 out for that. And we have some other things coming up in the near future. Void's Eye Observatory and a secret project that we are pretty excited for, that is looming off in the horizon. If you're a longtime viewer and you're like, they've been saying that for like 3 months. Yeah, that's because we've been working on it for 3 months. Great. I think with that, we can sign off there. I'll catch you all on the flip side.
See ya.
Bye.
Peace out.